APRS, who's requested time on the podium. Dr. James Haynes. James, where are you?
I'm Mafia introducing you. You need to know that you've got a problem. I signed up for this and I brought along my compatriot in this organization. And we're not going to talk about ASPRS. I'm going to leave that to Norm because it's still his society until Thursday. But Frank and I want to talk about a different thing. We want to talk about the Hand Association years of Gary Brody. So I'm going to let Frank start out because he preceded me in that arrangement.
You know, we all have lives within lives, and there is a rhythm to things. And I was in the Hand Association as a founding member, and there were several of us that were presidents then, and I decided it was time that we had a little class in this organization. And that's when we decided that Gary Brody should be an upcoming president of the Hand Association. And indeed, he was, and he's kept on going. God knows Bush is in real trouble.
Well, he went on and he became the president of the Hand Association in 82, 83. And it was my pleasure to follow him as the president of that organization. And we had both obviously followed Frank, who's been president of the organization. But Gary had his midwinter board meeting in Laguna Beach, where he is the possessor of a beach house, which we never saw when we were down there. There is some concern about the fact whether that exists or not. We hear a lot about it. In any event, that was the year that the hurricanes came whipping across the Southern California border, and we were put up in the Laguna Inn beach house or something, a beach club or something, Gary, and the tide came in so far that it was thrashing against the pillars of this motel that we were on. And every night when you went to bed, it came in like this, and it was just banging and banging. And it would sort of reminded me of the affairs that the Hand Association, when Gary took it over, and when we got done with it, he handed the gavel to me in Dallas, and it was a very nice, smooth organization. And I had a very easy year, just sort of the same way that Norm did it for me today.
We have two more speakers before we...
The Jewish ride right from New York. Gary, Enid and I want to share a few memories with you and tell you a little bit about some of the past that we've enjoyed. But Enid's going
It was last Wednesday, before the Brodies would leave for this meeting, and Sophia was practicing how to deceive her dear husband, who sometimes was dense. He hadn't noticed that she'd been anxious and tense, or had he? Did her behavior just shout that there was something he knew nothing about? For months she'd been arranging a loving surprise, keeping her efforts away from his eyes. Did he suspect her careful plan, a birthday party for her special man? She designed a gala at Watergate and urged those invited not to be late. She chose a menu and chartered a bus and warned, keep this secret, don't make a fuss. She primed Arthur and me to serve as decoy. Our assignment, a perfectly reasonable ploy. We press for an intimate dinner before, as we've done with success many times before. There was no chance to accomplish our feat, for on Saturday morning, whom did we greet? But a smiling Gary, brave and bold, who confided that he was feeling old, and told us with a beaming pride of when he was young and took a bride, that this week is his birthday, true, but a wedding anniversary too. And would we, could we, make a date? We agreed there's much to celebrate. We know that Stelnia, European and charming, found this lad from Alberta disarming, and agreed that they be husband and wife, to share a not easy but never dull life. In places near and far away, Pittsburgh, Alexandria, LA, where their careers developed and a family grew. First Jeff, then Alan and Joanna too. Traveling was part of Gary's vocation. He practiced his surgery on location. Sometimes alone, Easter Island was one, when Sonia stayed home and Gary had fun. But 5 Brodies joined 4 of us in wonder and journeyed together to that land down under. China and Israel fell into this plan, and there was some time in Iran. In Israel in 73, Arabs attacked. Hadassah announced plastic surgeons they lacked. Off went Brody and ship right away, a surgical team to help in the fray. From morning to nightfall, tirelessly serving, but sleeping together was more than unnerving. Enemy sounds, gunshots roaring, were nothing compared with Gary's snoring. About silicone implants, Brody knows all. Just ask David Kessler, the person to call. Lupus arthritis from gel do derive, or so say the lawyers who manage to thrive. Autoimmune is what they all sing, but Brody will tell you there ain't no such thing. He's had difficult months with the FDA. It's caused his hair to go white from gray. But after careful investigation, we deemed him worthy of continuation. Family, friends, by Gary is gifted, and marked his birthday, number 60. Noting 35 years in a wedded state, we joined together to celebrate. We offer Gary warm birthday cheers, and to him and Sonia, many happy years.
California, you get killed for that. What time are they doing?
Everything I do gets second guessed. Take a look at the expert.
Happy birthday, Gary. And we're so glad.
Glad to be here, Gary. Come home to Alexandria. It's about time you left California.
When did you get those? When I started getting old.
She was an old-fashioned political machine, instead of being above the fray, trying to darkness. Normally, there's people in a tunnel going down the ground. So Kennedy was really, people loved him. Did he have any
This is the original young turkey. He made flies before. They're Hercules, and the turboprop is a beautiful engine that just got a propeller. It grabs the whole damn thing. Better than a jet. It's not a balanced presentation of the facts. It's I got to warn you. By the way, I found out why Dan Quayle created it. He had to line up this thing. He's watching Murphy Brown tonight.
And he was playing golf.
Gary, we want to wish you the happiest birthday ever, ever, ever. We know there's going to be 60 more. Yeah, she didn't see. And isn't 60 really, really cool?
Come on, Frank, say
And
something.
this is our table spokesperson. Yeah. We chose the most personable, attractive, and intelligent person to say this.
Always a good spokesperson.
Yeah.
Well, I think you got to say that when we settle this implant
Oh, wait a minute. Wait till the camera gets to you. Now. All right, now. Go for it.
When we settle this implant crisis 60 years from now, we'll still be there working with Gary.
But you're not supposed to bring up this subject tonight. This is...
Did I bring that up?
Gary, say...
Outbreak was talking on this place and must save that place, and so now he had to kind of organize things a little bit. But in the process, he got some help, and he had somebody working in the lab. And one day he comes up to the VA and says, "Hey, I really think these will work in humans now. Why don't you try one in this bad joint with moderately amputated the fellow's finger?" So the first silicone roller joint, believe me, ever put in a human was put in by Gary with my somewhat inept assistant at the VA hospital in 1962. And as a result of these various slight underhand dealings, I wouldn't call them underhand exactly, but they were certainly a little bit other than what I would do or what Bob would do. We nicknamed him Angus. So, Angus Brody, I'm proud to be part of your past, and I hope I'm part of your future. And you did a fine job, and you did initiate the artificial joint. Thank you.
I've known this next speaker for many years. He wasn't funny as a resident, but we're hoping for the best here tonight. Is Jack Fisher still here, or he may have gone to the library?
Gene Jakubczak asked me a few moments ago when I had first met Gary, and I couldn't remember. Maybe Gary will remember, but I do remember very well a conversation I had with Gary, and it was either 1973 or 1974, and it was in a lobby of a hotel in Seattle when the association was meeting there, and Gary helped me to understand what it would be like to live in Southern California. And it was at that moment that I was interviewing and considering the position in San Diego. And ever since that time, I've considered Gary a mentor, and certainly a colleague, a respected colleague. And in fact, the communications that go back and forth between his house and my house initially required a special communication system, which initially, of course, only involved 2 tomato soup cans and a string drawn taut. But as the years evolved, that was not sufficient. we needed up-to-date telecommunication systems and calls either very early in the morning or late at night. And there's no better time to thank Sonia for her tolerance, receiving calls from me at 6:25 in the morning, exactly 5 minutes after Gary had left for the hospital. Had it not called, she would have been allowed to sleep for another hour. But even the telephone was not sufficient. Many months ago, I installed a fax machine in my house and then taught Gary how he could install one in his house so that fax communications could go back and forth between us. Because you see, you've heard of ghost writers, but there are also ghost editors. And I'm going to admit to you that Gary is my ghost editor. We are both addicts. We are both addicted. We're not addicted to silicone. We're not silicone junkies. We are silicone data junkies. And there's no better time than tonight to announce that there will be a new organization. Gary and I are the founders. SDJA, Silicone Data Junkies Anonymous. There are a number of candidates in this room, and you will be informed. We will tap you on the shoulder in the middle of the night someday. But Gary must show to you sometime his manifestations of the disease. That's his responsibility. I must show you how it evidences it in myself. And my symptoms are that anytime anybody sets in front of me any data related to silicone, I immediately have to take out my pen and begin looking for the error and editing. And so, Gary, I want to tell you, you and I talked about this the other night, how we're going to break ourselves of this habit. And tonight, I have been tempted to edit this and correct the spelling. Sidney Wolf's name is misspelled. I've taken out my pen several times. My hand shakes, but I've not done it yet, Gary. I have not edited this. So that's my first step. I'm going to break myself of silicone data addiction. Gary, I'll back you up, and I know you'll back me up.
Jack, there's one form of silicone that I'll never be able to resist not touching.
With his first papers before Bruce Williams said the other papers, and then, as he mentioned, he was actually responsible for practically for separating the plastic surgery from general surgery, and I'm a general surgeon. Not only that he was a very good student, he was probably the best one in experimental surgery. His work at that time, like it was 1957, wasn't approved. But like all big discoveries come later, now it's standard. The third reason that is more interesting is that he was a member of the expedition to Easter Island, sponsored by the Workers' Organization. And one of the speakers referred to was gallivanting, that actually what he was doing, he was operating on the lepers on Easter Island. And, you know, I know that he took his children to Easter Island already. And I think on his third visit, maybe he will take his grandchildren. And you have to inscribe your own name because I don't have a laser. Thank you very much.
Stanley was responsible for one of the grand adventures of my life, and I have to share with you a brief story about this. When we went to Easter Island, there wasn't an airfield, and so we had to, it took a week or 8 days by boat to get there. And finally we got there, and I had left. I'd been in practice for 6 months, and Stanley called me and said, would you like to go to Easter Island? I thought about it for 30 seconds. I checked both of my patients, my knee-lectomies, and they were doing well. Then I went home and asked Sonia, and in a weak moment she said yes. So December 1st, we left for Easter Island. We got there, and
December 13th.
Talk about data. In any event, the only communication, there were no satellites in those days, believe it or not. And the only communication was by ham radio, which was erratic. And when you call by ham radio in those days, the entire world is listening because Easter was a great connection for ham radio operators and everybody wanted to listen in. And Sonia would get an occasional phone call, a collect phone call from Omaha, Nebraska, or from Mexico City. I've got your husband on the line, and they would patch in on this radio. So anyway, the first opportunity I had to call home, I finally got connected with Sonia, and I said, gee, what a wonderful day. We had an eclipse of the moon, the sun is shining, the natives have given us a luau, and I was swimming in the ocean, and there was dead silence. She says, well, we had a snowfall yesterday, it's 20 below zero, the kids are sick, and I thought you went there to work anyway. So when I finally got home, we made up and we stuck together. But thank you. You all sing beautifully. If you'll all excuse me, my mother and sister are on the line. My mother is 85. Can't keep her waiting.
Very good.
I should also tell some of the people here that Gary doesn't have this many friends. There are many people who've been hired for the occasion. I'm pretending to be a friend, but I'm really not. And I've no doubt about it by the time I finish. Now, Gary came during the time that I actually was his resident. And Dr. Musgrave, Ross taught him everything good, and I taught him everything bad. It's amazing how many cases we did together without knowing what we were doing, and the patient seemed to do very well. I know more now and they're doing worse, I don't know. But I'm going to read something that Willie White sent to you, but I want to tell people what it was like in those days. And we had someone from Edmonton. I wasn't exactly sure what Edmonton was. I'd known Saul Bird, of course, who was at the brig with me. Then I saw this peculiar custom of Gary. I thought it was some Jewish kosher custom of having tendons and chickens. Turning chickens upside down. I wasn't really familiar with that in our part of the world. Well, there was another person named Henry Shimizu, and I think some of you knew him. Well, when you got to Willie's program, it was expected that you did research, and indeed, Don and I did it. But Henry Shimizu was smarter than all of us. Henry ordered equipment. He ordered equipment, and every Monday morning, I guess it was, Willie would say, well, Henry, how's your project coming? And he'd say, well, Dr. White, that piece of equipment from Transylvania just hasn't come. We've got to wait a week. So by the time Henry left, he had never gone into the laboratory. He left approximately $300,000 worth of equipment. I don't know whatever happened to it. So it was a very, very peculiar thing that actually Gary was doing the only authentic research. And it is true that he was called Angles. It was also true that he had connections with corporations. He was ordering things, calling people. And Don and I were taking care of patients. We just kind of this is another level of entrepreneurship that we haven't been familiar with. However, Dr. White recalls those days very, very clearly. And he sent a letter, and so he asked me to read it. Dear Gary, please accept my very personal apology for failing to attend your 60th birthday bash. I had long planned to be on hand for you, and I have much in common to recall. You were a significant ally before, during, and after your 2 years of residency. The research that you established during the 6-month period before and during your residency rotation at the University of Pittsburgh was the very basis for our research program in plastic surgery for many years. I recall with great joy your enthusiasm and timeless devotion. It is equally prideful for me to recall your devotion to clinical, academic, and research activities during the resident program. I remember the late-night calls after you became established at Georgetown and the many deliberations about your future plans. Then how happy you were in the environment of the University of California, your work at Rancho Los Amigos, and then the establishment of the hand rehabilitation unit. Later still, the accumulation of recognition by your peers, the presidency of the Association of Hand Surgeons, and your expertise with breast implants. You are leading a full life, Gary, with many great accomplishments. In you, I have great pride and many fine recollections. There is no question that all of us feel the way that Willie does when he signed the fund. And it is my hope, Gary, that with all you've accomplished, you won't turn into an implant. I detect a little prominence and a little papilla coming up in the head. Little Montgomery ducks growing around here. But when you were named at birth, Gary S. Brody, it was obvious that you were named after silicone. Congratulations and good luck.
My mother's on the line again, forgive me. I'm coming, Mother.
The other sweater you should have worn.